day has already started. By the time I notice it, sounds in motion, light fully present. There's no quiet like the night, but there is space if I choose where to stand. I don't wait for perfect conditions, they don't exist here. I work with what's available and that's enough. The task in front of me doesn't need excitement, it needs consistency and attention that doesn't wander. I settle into that. The rhythm is steady, not slow, not urgent, just reliable. Reliability matters more than intensity. Intensity fades, structure stays. I begin with a single action, then another, no frame and no commentary. Moves and forms naturally when nothing interrupts it. The environment stays active, movement outside, sound passing through. I don't react, I treat it like weather, present but irrelevant. Thoughts arrive intermittently, some related, some not. I don't chase either. If something supports the task, it stays. If it doesn't, it dissolves. Its sorting happens on its own when I don't interfere. Time moves forward in usable segments, not measured but felt. I don't count progress, counting divides attention. I prefer continuity. Hands repeat familiar motions even when the work is new. Repetition appears quickly when distraction is removed. The body adapts first, the mind follows without argument. Breathing stays even unnoticed, which means it's aligned. I don't look for motivation, motivation fluctuates. I look for stability, stability carries further. Mistakes appear, they always do, but they don't interrupt flow, they integrate. Correction happens quietly without narrative, without emotion. That's efficiency, not speed. The sound remains neutral, it doesn't lead, it doesn't react, it supports duration. I let it, thoughts become less verbal, more functional. They point, then move on, there's no internal dialogue, just direction. I remain inside the clarity, not sharp, not intense, just focus. The day continues around me, schedules, messages, movement. I don't step into it until I need to. Nothing expires by waiting, nothing collapses by delay. Work benefits from patience. I stay with the same pace even when finishing feels close. Anticipation breaks flow, so I avoid it. Minutes connect smoothly, no edge, no contrast, just progression. The task lightens, not because it's easier, because there's nothing else attached to it. I don't multitask, I don't split attention. Division weakens focus, I keep it narrow. The work advances line by line, decision by decision without emphasis. This isn't calm, this is usability. A state where effort is low and output is steady. The sound continues, the rhythm stays unchanged. That predictability is what allows duration. I don't modify it, I don't enhance it. I let the system run. Time passes quietly without pressure. When stopping eventually comes, it doesn't interrupt, it chasing, because nothing was forced. For now I remain here, clear, consistent, undistracted, letting the work move forward at its own pace. Stay with it, no adjustment, no expansion. A line continues without emphasis, without pause. I don't add, I don't remove, I maintain. Attention stays narrow, useful, precise. No signal, no message, no interpretation. The pattern repeats because it works. Breath remains uncounted, unnoticed. Movement follows the shortest path. No reaction, no correction. The sound holds the space, I stay inside. progress. No before, no after, only now extended. With the tone, words dissolve into texture, meaning reduces interference, focus stabilizes on its own. No, don't hold it, I don't guide it, it sustains because it is undisturbed. The sequence loops cleanly, no climax, no release, just function, just continuity. Stopping is irrelevant. Then, without contrast, I transition smoothly. Outside starts to shift, not suddenly, just enough to notice the time is moving differently now. The day hasn't ended, but it's no longer pushing. Its edges soften, its urgency loosens. I stay where I am, long enough to feel the change, not to mark it, just to adjust. There's still work in front of me, but it doesn't feel sharp anymore. Feels manageable, like it understands the pace. I don't rush to finish, rushing belongs to earlier hours. Now I choose continuation without pressure. Sounds outside, then I'll gradually, some remain, some disappear. None of them ask for response, I let that happen. The task becomes quieter, not smaller, just less demanding, more cooperative. I focus on what's necessary, and nothing beyond that scope narrows naturally as energy settles. Thoughts from earlier return briefly, then realize they're no longer relevant and leave again. That transition always surprises me. I don't push into death, I let death arrive when everything unnecessary is already stepped away. Stay steady, the constancy matters. It gives the mind something reliable to lean on. I don't count what's left, counting pulls attention forward. I stay with what's present, breathing changes slightly, slower, less intentional, more in sync. The body notices first, the mind adjusts later. I trust that order. Mistakes feel lighter now, easier to correct. Less charge, they pass without reaction. Efficiency shifts from speed to accuracy that suits this hour. The outside world dims, not visually, but functionally it becomes background. Messages wait, deadlines stretch, nothing collapses. I keep working, not because I have to, because momentum is still intact, but gentler. The sound supports the softness, it doesn't guide emotion, it doesn't flatten it either. It stays neutral, that balance helps. Minutes blend into each other, not disappearing, just losing edges. I don't feel tired yet, I don't feel alert, I feel settled, that's the best condition for a sustained focus. The task unfolds calmly, step after step, without commentary, without evaluation. I don't label this state, labels create distance, I stay close instead. If night arrives fully, I'll adjust again. If it doesn't, this pace still holds that flexibility matters. For now I remain in this middle space, where effort is steady and attention is clear. The day releases me gradually, not all at once. That gradual release keeps focus intact. I continue without urgency, without just a line enough to let the work carry itself forward until the next shift arrives naturally, without signal, without contrast. The room feels different at this hour, not quieter, just less interested in what I'm doing. That helps. The outside world has lowered its expectations. Messages slow down, movement fades. Nothing urgent remains. I don't respond to the silence, I let it exist like a condition, not a mood. The work in front of me feels heavier at night, not harder, just more honest. There's no momentum to borrow, no noise to hide behind. Every action is deliberate, steady or nothing. I choose steady. The light stays low enough to see, not enough to distract. Edges soften naturally, time stretches, then settles and disappears altogether. That transition always happens if I don't interfere. I focus on what's necessary. One line, one decision, then the next. I don't widen the scope, I don't check how far this goes. Distance doesn't matter, consistency does. Thoughts appear more slowly at night. When they arrive, they stay longer, I let them. If they don't belong to the task, it lose relevance without confrontation. I don't argue with myself, there's no energy for that. Agreement is simpler. Breathe and stay shallow, but even aligned with the pace of what I'm doing. I don't correct it, correction adds noise. The rhythm stays unchanged, that's important. The mind relaxes when patterns remain intact. I don't search for clarity, clarity is loud. I prefer precision, precision lives well in quiet hours. Mistakes surface clearly, they don't hide, they don't multiply, they adjust. Correction happens immediately without frustration, without narrative. That's efficiency, not speed. Minutes lose their names, there's no sequence, only continuation. The outside world feels far away, not absent, just unreachable, and that's fine. Nothing I ignore will disappear, nothing I delay will collapse. Night holds things without demanding answers. I stay within that holding. The task feels narrower now, not limiting focus. Every unnecessary thought falls away because it has nowhere to attach. I don't feel motivated, I don't feel calm, I feel contained. That containment supports attention better than excitement ever could. The sound remains neutral, it doesn't guide emotion, it doesn't ask for response, it simply supports duration. I let it, time passes without texture, no highlight, no dip, just depth. When fatigue approaches, it doesn't interrupt, it softens and blends in. I just pace, not intention. Stopping will come later, I don't plan it, I don't anticipate it. Anticipation breaks step, for now I stay here. Within the narrow field where action is clean and thought is minimal. The night doesn't reward effort, it accepts it, that's enough. I continue not because I must, because continuation is the simplest option. The work progresses without contrast, without contrast. The sound stays where it is. It doesn't move forward, it doesn't pull back. I stay with it, not listening, just allowing. Words don't need weight here, they don't need direction. They exist, and that's enough. I don't follow the voice, I let it pass like air, like light. Nothing is emphasized, nothing stands out, everything stays level. The rhythm continues without instruction, without variation. I don't anticipate, I don't remember, I remain. The tone blends into the room, it doesn't ask for space, it takes none. Attention stays narrow, not forced, just practical. I don't define the moment, I don't label the state. Labels add edges, edges interrupt. The sound removes edges. Time becomes usable, not measured, not counted. Minutes connect without signal, without marker. I stay inside that connection. Words lose meaning, and that is intentional. Meaning distracts, texture remains. The voice softens until it's indistinguishable from tone. I don't separate them, breathing stays unnoticed, aligned with the pace of continuation. No urgency, no delay, the task remains present, everything else recedes. I don't react to passing thoughts, reaction creates friction. Friction breaks flow, I allow flow by not interfering. The rhythm does not change. Change creates contrast, contrast draws attention. I avoid contrast, repetition supports duration. Duration supports focus. Focus sustains itself when it is not observed. I don't observe it. The sound fills space without occupying it. The balance holds, there is no progression, no build, no release, only extension. I remain without deciding to remain. Time moves, but quietly, without texture, without emphasis. The voice continues, not as language, as presence. Language dissolves, only pattern remains. I don't adjust posture, I don't adjust volume. Everything stays sufficient. Mistakes correct themselves when nothing reacts to them. Correction happens without signal. The outside world is inactive, not absent, just irrelevant. Messages wait, time waits. Nothing expires, I stay inside the task without acknowledging it. Acknowledgement breaks continuity, I avoid it. The sound loops naturally because nothing marked its beginning, nothing will mark its end. I remain clear, unforced. Continuation holds without effort. The voice fades into function. Function replaces meaning. Meaning is unnecessary. The system runs because it is undisturbed. I do not guide it, I do not stop it. I remain inside until remaining no longer matters. Then transition occurs without contrast, smooth, unnoticed. The sound stays as long as it is needed, then releases without signal, without emphasis, leaving no trace and no interruption. Soft tone, low volume, no direction. Even spacing, no emphasis, no intention. The sound stays level, no rise, no fall. Breath moves and settles, then repeats. Nothing forms, nothing resolves, nothing acts. The voice blends into tone, into air. No foreground, no background, only layer. Time stretches without marker, without edge. Pattern remains unchanged, undisturbed. No signal, no cue, no phrase. Sound continues, a surface, a space. Breath aligns with rhythm without notice. Nothing reacts, nothing interrupts, nothing competes. Tone holds duration, consistency. No memory, no anticipation, no reference. Loop feels natural because nothing started, nothing ends. Voice loses shape, becomes texture, becomes function. Attention stays narrow, effort stays low. Continuity holds. No build, no release, no contrast. The system runs because it is stable, because it is quiet. Sound occupies without weight, without demand. Nothing pulls forward, nothing pulls back. Everything stays. Time passes, but silently, without pressure. The voice remains as presence, not language. Meaning dissolves, interference fades, focus sustains. No change is required, no adjustment is made, no attention is drawn. The loop continues clean, seamless, until stopping occurs naturally without signal. Then silence feels identical to sound. Nothing lost, nothing gained, nothing disturbed. Continuation is complete. I don't prepare the space, I use it as it is. Nothing needs to change for work to begin. The surface in front of me holds enough information. I don't widen the frame, I narrow it. There is no pressure to start fast, speed doesn't help here. Accuracy doesn't, accuracy prefers calm. I focus on the first motion, not the outcome, not the distance, just the beginning. Once that happens, everything else follows. The rhythm stays steady, that removes choice. Choice interrupts attention, consistency supports it. I don't look for stimulation, I look for continuity. The sound stays level, it doesn't highlight moments, it doesn't demand reaction, it simply remains. I let it do that. Thoughts appear in fragments, some complete, some unfinished. I don't assemble them, only what is useful stays. The rest passes without resistance. Breathing stays regular, not intentional, not observed, just a line. I stop checking time, because checking divides it. Time works better when it stays whole. The task becomes familiar, even if it's new. Repetition forms quickly when distraction is removed. Hands learn the pattern, the mind supports it. Without commentary, without debate, errors adjust quietly. They don't interrupt flow, integrate themselves into the next movement. There is no urgency here, urgency fractures attention. I choose steadiness instead. Minutes connect seamlessly, no edges, no milestones, just progression. I don't mark progress, progress happens anyway. The outside world remains distant, not blocked, not ignored, just irrelevant for now. Messages can wait, noise can exist elsewhere. Nothing requires response. I don't negotiate focus, I maintain conditions that allow it. The rhythm does not change, this is intentional. Change draws attention, stability holds it. I stay inside the same pace until pace becomes invisible. Thoughts slow, not because I silence them, because they lose importance. Only what contributes remains. This is not effort, it is alignment. I don't feel driven, I don't feel relaxed, I feel functional. The state lasts as long as it is unexamined. So I don't examine it, the work unfolds naturally, line after line, action after action. Without narrative, no reward system, no anticipation, just continuation. Time passes, but quietly, without pressure, without contrast. Eventually stopping will come, but it won't interrupt, it will transition. Because nothing here is strained for now. I remain within the task, clear, steady, uninterrupted, letting the sound and the rhythm support attention. Without asking for anything else. I don't push myself into focus, I let it arrive like something familiar that knows where to land. The moment feels ready enough, not perfect, not quiet, just workable. I start without ceremony, no countdown, no preparation, just movement. The task meets me halfway, it doesn't resist, it doesn't demand, it simply waits. I meet it there. The rhythm underneath stays constant, not exciting, not dull, just reliable. Reliability keeps my attention, better than intensity ever could. Thoughts coming slowly, some connected, some passing through. I don't stop them, what matters stays close, what doesn't finds its way out. Time begins to flatten, minutes lose weight. I stop noticing how long things take. That's when work feels easiest. I keep my attention practical, focused on what's visible, not the outcome, not the distance. The sound moves gently enough to feel present, not enough to ask for anything. Breathe breathing stays unnoticed, which tells me nothing is strained, nothing is forced. The outside world continues at its own pace. Messages arrive, but don't interrupt, I let them sit. Small corrections happen naturally, without frustration, without commentary. Then I move on, there's no urgency here. Urgency tightens everything, I stay loose and consistent. The rhythm doesn't shift suddenly, it holds steady. That steadiness supports duration. Minutes pass cleanly, without contrast, without pressure, just progression. The work unfolds one step at a time, without noise, without drama. This isn't silence and it is excitement. It's a steady space where attention stays. When I pause briefly, it feels intentional, like checking direction, not stopping. Then I continue without resistance, without rethinking, just moving forward. The sound stays behind me, never pulling ahead. It supports without leading. I don't need this moment to feel productive or inspired. It only needs to function, and it does. When stopping eventually comes, it won't feel sudden. It will feel complete, like a natural point to pause. Until then, I remain here, balanced, focused, comfortably engaged, letting the rhythm and the work move together without force, without distraction. Just steady motion, just steady motion, just steady motion, just steady motion, just steady motion. I don't set an end point, I let the work decide. Duration isn't planned, it unfolds. The environment stays consistent, which is the point. Nothing stands out, nothing pulls focus away. I begin without ceremony, no preparation, no internal cue, just action. The first few minutes always feel separate. After that, edges dissolve, the rhythm stays unchanged. That stability matters. Change demands attention, consistency releases it. I don't track momentum, momentum forms on its own. When resistance is absent, thoughts appear at a distance. They don't arrive sharply, they don't insist, they pass. If something belongs to the task, it integrates. If it doesn't, it fades. No decision required, time becomes layered, not segmented. 1 minute supporting the next without distinction. I don't mark progress, progress doesn't need marking. Movement is enough, the body adjusts quietly, posture settles, hands find efficiency without instruction. Breathing remains even unnoticed, which means it's aligned. I don't look for variation, variation interrupts depth, depth prefers repetition. I allow repetition without boredom, because purpose is clear. The sound maintains its place, it doesn't signal transitions, it doesn't highlight sections, it simply continues. That continuation is intentional. Mistakes appear briefly, then correct themselves without narrative, without reaction. I don't pause for evaluation, evaluation pulls attention outward. I stay inward, the outside world exists but doesn't interact. Messages wait, time waits, nothing expires while focus holds. I keep the scope narrow, not limiting, efficient. Each action connects directly to the next. No detours, no excess. Thoughts become quieter, not silence, just unnecessary. Only function remains. This is not motivation, motivation fluctuates. This is structure, structure holds when emotion doesn't. I don't feel fast, I don't feel slow, I feel continuous. Continuity sustains effort better than energy. The task no longer feels separate, it blends into motion, motion blends the sound loops. It feels natural because nothing has changed. That's intentional. Without signal, without contrast. If the sound loops, it feels natural because nothing has changed. That's intentional. I don't wait for the right sentence. I start with what's incomplete. Clarity appears later after movement begins. The page doesn't demand perfection. It accepts direction, even uncertainty, as long as it continues. I place one word down, not to decide, just to open space for the next. Momentum builds quietly when I don't interrupt it, when I let structure form underneath. I don't reread too early, looking back slows forward motion. I trust the line to hold its place. Thoughts arrive unevenly, some sharp, some vague. I don't rank them. If a phrase belongs, it stays. If it doesn't, it loosens and leaves. I don't argue with language, I let it adjust. Resistance adds noise, flow reduces it. Time becomes flexible, stretching when needed, compressing when focus sharpens without warning. I stay inside that flexibility. The rhythm remains constant, that steadiness matters. It removes choice, and choice interrupts writing. I let repetition support clarity, not variety, not emphasis. Hands move faster than thought, that's ideal. Thinking follows without leading. Mistakes don't stop the process, they correct themselves later when context exists. Editing belongs to another moment. This one is for construction. I don't polish, I place. Sentences connect, not because they're perfect, but because they're adjacent. And adjacency is enough. The outside world stays present but irrelevant. Sound passes without attaching meaning. I don't check time, check and devise attention. Writing prefers continuity. Breathing stays even unnoticed, which means it's aligned with the pace of thought. I don't search for inspiration, inspiration fluctuates. Structure holds, structure gives thought somewhere to land. Ideas feel lighter when they're written, even unfinished, even unclear. That release matters. I move paragraph by paragraph, not measuring length, not counting progress, just advancing. If doubt appears, it waits, it doesn't interrupt, it fades when ignored. I don't reread the opening, I don't preview the ending. Both pull me away from where I am. I stay in the middle where construction happens. Language simplifies itself when I don't overthink. Complexity emerges naturally from accumulation. The sound remains neutral, it doesn't highlight emotion, it doesn't guide tone, it supports duration. I let it minutes connect seamlessly, no milestones, no checkpoints, just forward movement. I don't stop to assess quality. Assessment breaks momentum, quality improves later with distance. For now I build. The page fills gradually, not impressively, not elegantly, but steadily. The steadiness is enough. Thoughts become less verbal, more directional. They point then disappear. Writing becomes mechanical, in a good way. Less emotion, more execution. This is not creativity, it's construction. Creativity benefits from structure. The work grows line by line, without narrative, without commentary. When stopping eventually comes, it doesn't interrupt, it pauses naturally at a clean point. Nothing feels forced, nothing feels incomplete. For now I remain inside the process, clear, consistent, undistracted, letting the rhythm and the language support each other until continuation is no longer necessary and distance can take over. I ease into the moment, not all at once, just enough to feel where I am. Nothing needs fixing yet, nothing needs explaining. The pace is already set, I follow it. The space around me feels usable, not silent, not busy, just open. I start with something small, one simple action that leads naturally to the next. The rhythm underneath stays steady, it doesn't ask me to react, it just stays there doing its job. I let it. Thoughts pass through quietly, some useful, some unnecessary. I don't separate them, what belongs stays close, what doesn't moves on without effort. Time begins to smooth out, minutes lose their edges. I stop noticing where one ends and another starts. That helps more than I expect. The task doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't feel light either. It feels manageable and that's enough. I keep my attention narrow, not limiting, just efficient, one thing at a time. The sound in the background moves gently, enough to feel alive, not enough to pull me away. I stay with what's in front of me. Breathing stays natural, not deep, not shallow, just steady. I don't think about it, which means it's working. The outside world continues somewhere else. Messages arrive, but they don't interrupt. I let them wait. Small adjustments happen without frustration. A line corrected, a step realigned, then I continue. There's no rush toward completion. Rushing adds tension. I stay with the pace that already works. The rhythm doesn't change suddenly, it holds a straight line. That predictability makes focus easier. Minutes pass cleanly, without noise, without pressure, just movement. The work unfolds step by step, line by line, without commentary. This isn't silence, and it isn't excitement. It's a steady middle ground where attention stays. When I pause briefly, it feels intentional, like checking my balance before moving again. Then I return without resistance, without rethinking, just continuing. The sound stays present, but never forward. It supports without leading. I don't ask this moment to feel productive or inspired. It just needs to function, and it does. When stopping eventually comes, it won't feel abrupt, it will feel complete, like a natural place to pause. Until then I remain in here, calm, focused, comfortably engaged, letting the rhythm and the work move side by side. Without force, without distraction, just steady progress. Just steady progress. I keep the space simple, nothing unnecessary, nothing calling for attention, just enough light to see. The text stays where it is, I don't rearrange it, I don't negotiate, I just return. There's no soundtrack in my head, no dialogue, no commentary, only movement. My hands repeat what they know, the mind follows without leading, without resisting. Time loses its edges, it becomes a surface, smooth, easy to stay on. I don't measure progress, I don't pause to evaluate. Work continues, because nothing interrupts it. Thoughts come by quietly, they don't stop, they don't stay, they move on. I don't react, that's the difference. The rhythm remains unchanged. The steadiness matters, variation pulls attention, consistency holds it. I stay with the pattern, mistakes correct themselves when I don't rush, when I don't tighten around them. Breathing stays unnoticed, which means it's aligned with the pace of what I'm doing. I don't label this focus, I don't frame it, I don't protect it, I let it exist. Minutes stack evenly, no contrast, no highlight, just continuity. The outside world stays outside, not blocked, not ignored, just irrelevant for now. There's no pressure to finish, completion will happen when it happens without effort. The task becomes lighter, not easier, just clearer. I don't think about stopping, I don't think about continuing, both are unnecessary. This state holds itself as long as I don't interfere. When the tension drips, it returns naturally, because nothing competes for it. I remain here, quietly, effectively, without strain. The work moves forward, line by line, step by step, unnoticed, and that's exactly what I want. No peak, no release, no signal, just sustained focus, doing its job. I stay until it's time, not because I decided, but because it's done. My posture settle first, not the thoughts, not the plan, just the body finding its place. Once that happens, everything else feels easier, like the room adjusts with me instead of the other way around. The task doesn't feel distant, it's already here, waiting without pressure. I don't build momentum, I step into it quietly without announcement. There's a steady pace beneath everything, not exciting, not flat, just dependable. I stay inside that pace. Thoughts move past without urgency, some pause briefly, others don't. I don't slow them down. If one belongs, it stays close, if not, it moves on. Time becomes less noticeable, minutes soften, edges blur, nothing feels late or early, that's when focus feels late or natural. I keep my attention practical, what's in front of me, what comes next, nothing further, the sound stays balanced, present but never insistent, holding the space, breathing happens on its own, no reminders, no effort, just steady motion. The outside world continues somewhere else. Messages arrive but don't interrupt. I let them wait. Smart fulfillments happen without frustration, without stopping, and I continue. There's no push toward completion. Completion will come when it comes without being chased. The rhythm doesn't shift suddenly, it holds a straight line. That predictability keeps my mind steady. Minutes pass cleanly, without emphasis, without pressure, just movement. The work unfolds piece by piece, without commentary, without noise. This isn't silence, and it isn't excitement. It's a workable middle ground where attention stays. When I pause briefly, it feels intentional, like adjusting position, not stopping. Then I return without resistance, without restarting, just continuing. The sound remains supportive, never stepping ahead, never falling away, staying in place. I don't ask this moment to feel productive or inspired, it just needs to function, and it does. When stopping eventually arrives, it won't feel sudden, it will feel complete, like a natural place to pause. Until then I remain here, steady, focused, comfortably engaged, letting the rhythm and the task move together without force, without distraction, just consistent flow. I lower the volume of the room, not the sound, just the meaning. Things can't exist without needing attention. The screen stays bright but my focus narrows. One line, one task, nothing extra. I don't rush the start, I let momentum build quietly in its own time. There's no background story here, no Marie pulling me back, no anticipation leaning forward, just what's in front of me. I notice how silence isn't empty, it's structured like space between notes. My hands know what to do before I name it. Movement follows intention without conversation. Night becomes flat, not slow, not fast, just usable. I don't check how far I've come, I don't look ahead. Progress happens without announcement. Thoughts appear then dissolve if they don't belong to the work. I don't argue with them, I let them pass through like static that doesn't interrupt the signal. The rhythm stays the same, that's important. Consistency keeps the mind open. Without pulling it away, I stay inside that rhythm. No pressure to finish, no need to optimize, just steady attention, apply gently. Mistakes don't matter here, they adjust themselves when I don't react too quickly. Breathing stays even, I notice, which means it's working. I don't label this moment as productive or calm, it doesn't need a category, it's functional and that's enough. Minutes stack quietly, one supporting the next. No edge, no break, I remain present without effort, because nothing is competing. If a distraction appears, it waits, loses urgency, moves on. I don't follow it. The task becomes lighter, not because it's easier, cause I'm not carrying anything else. This is the state where focus sustains itself. No push, no pull, just alignment. When I eventually stop, there's no contrast, no abrupt return. The mind transitioning smoothly because it never left. For now I stay here, quiet, clear, undisturbed. I open the page without expectation. Words are already waiting. I don't rush them. The sentence begins on its own. I follow, not ahead, not behind. Meaning forms gradually, not all at once. It layers when I stay with it. I don't scan for conclusions. I let paragraphs do their work in sequence. The outside world stays active but distant. Sound passes through without attaching itself. I read one line, then the next, not counting, not summarizing. Understanding arrives quietly when I don't demand it. Thoughts appear, then step aside to make room for the text. I don't argue with what I'm reading. Agreement isn't required, only attention. The rhythm remains steady, the constancy matters. It keeps the mind open without pulling it away. I stay with the pace chosen by the words. Images form lightly, then fade. I don't hold them, I let them move. Time stretches not noticeably, but usefully. Minutes become transparent, they pass without interruption. I don't reread too soon, repetition breaks flow. I trust continuity. If something isn't clear, it settles later. Context fills gaps naturally. Breathing stays even unnoticed, aligned with the cadence of the page. I don't label this state as focused or calm. Labels interrupt. I remain inside the process, where attention is simple. The sound stays neutral, it doesn't guide emotion, it doesn't suggest meaning, it holds space. I let it. Information accumulates without effort, without pressure, just exposure. I don't memorize, I absorb, I disconnect. Not because I force them, because proximity allows it. The text moves forward, I move with it, neither leading nor resisting. Distractions soften, lose urgency when I don't react. I don't pause to check progress. Progress is invisible here. Comprehension works in the background. Sentences settle before I notice that they've stayed. I continue line after line, page after page, without contrast. The outside world remains irrelevant, not denied, just inactive. Nothing expires while attention holds. I don't hurry toward the end. Anticipation breaks depth. I stay where I am. The meaning deepens because it's uninterrupted. This isn't study, it's intake. This isn't effort, it's alignment. The When stopping eventually comes, it doesn't interrupt, it closes naturally at a clean point. Nothing feels unfinished, nothing feels forced. For now, I remain here. Absorbing undisturbed, letting words and rhythm share the same space until the page ends or attention releases on its own. Settle into the quiet, let the noise stay outside. Nothing asking for attention, nothing pulling my mind. The room feels steady enough, that's all I need. Not perfect, just workable. I take things one step at a time, without counting, without checking, just continuing. The rhythm stays even, it doesn't rush me, it doesn't slow me down, it keeps its place. I stay with that. Thoughts come and go, some useful, some not. I don't follow either. If something matters, it stays. If it doesn't, it fades on its own. The task in front of me doesn't need motivation, it needs presence and a steady pace. I give it that. Time moves quietly without pressure, minutes connect smoothly, one into the next. I don't stop to measure progress, progress happens anyway when attention stays consistent. Breathing stays natural, unnoticed, which means it's aligned with what I'm doing. I don't label this moment as productive or calm, it doesn't need a name, it just works. The sound remains soft in the background, not leading, not distracting. The balance helps, I focus on what's visible, not the whole picture. The next step is always enough. Mistakes don't interrupt, they adjust themselves when I don't react too quickly. The outside world stays distant, not blocked, just irrelevant for now. Messages wait, time waits, nothing collapses. I keep going, not because I must, because momentum is already here. The rhythm holds, the pace stays steady, nothing changes suddenly. That predictability makes focus easier. I don't rush toward the end, rushing breaks flow. I stay where I am. Minutes pass quietly, without contrast. The work continues, line by line, step by step, unnoticed. This isn't excitement, it's stability. Stability lasts longer when I eventually pause. It feels natural, not forced, not abrupt. Until then, I remain here. Clear, calm, undistracted, letting the sound and the rhythm support my focus without asking for anything more. Ooh. has its own rhythm. I don't try to change it, I move inside it and let it guide the pace. There's work in front of me, clear enough to begin. Not overwhelming, not exciting. That's fine. I focus on what's closest, the next small task, not the whole list, not the finish. The sound stays gentle, but it moves just enough to keep me here. Thoughts drifting slowly, some related, some not. I don't react. If they belong, they stay nearby. If they don't, they pass without effort. Time moves forward without pressure. Minutes connect naturally, one after another. I don't stop to check progress, checking breaks the flow. I trust consistency to do its work. Breathing stays even, not something I think about, just something that happens in the background. The task becomes lighter, not easier, just less crowded when nothing else competes. I notice small improvements without naming them. Things moving a little smoother than before. That's enough feedback. The outside world continues, sounds passing through without pulling me away. I let them exist, I stay with what I'm doing. The rhythm doesn't change suddenly, it holds a steady line. That steadiness makes it easier to focus. Mistakes show up quietly, they don't stop me, they adjust and I move on. There's no frustration here, just correction and continuation. I don't hurry toward the end, rushing adds tension. I stay with the pace that's already working. Minutes pass, not slowly, not quickly, just cleanly. The work continues, step by step, line by line, without noise. This isn't excitement and it isn't silence, it's somewhere in between. And that's where focus holds. When I pause briefly, it feels natural, like a breath, not a break. Then I return without resistance, without rethinking, just continuing. The sound stays present but never forward, it supports without leading. I let it do that. I don't ask this moment to be productive or meaningful, it just needs to function. And it does. When stopping eventually comes, it won't be abrupt, it will feel complete, like a clean place to pause. Until then, I remain here, steady, clear, focused enough, letting the rhythm and the task move together, without force, without distraction. Just working. I start by slowing the edges, not the work, just the noise around it, until things feel visible. There's no perfect setup, only a workable one. That's enough to begin. The task doesn't ask for energy, it asks for attention, something steady, something available. I give it that. The rhythm underneath stays calm, it doesn't pull me forward, it doesn't hold me back, it simply stays. I stay with it. Thoughts arrive without urgency, some relevant, some passing through. I don't separate them. What fits remains nearby, what doesn't move without resistance. Time becomes easier to handle, minutes stop standing out. They connect naturally, one into the next. That continuity helps. I keep my focus narrow, not strict, just intentional. One thing at a time. The sound in the background doesn't lead, doesn't disappear. It supports. Breathing stays unnoticed, which tells me nothing is strained, nothing is forced. The outside world continues. Somewhere else messages appear, but don't interrupt. I let them wait. Small adjustments happen quietly, a detail refined, a step corrected, then I move on. There's no pressure to finish early. Speed tightens, focus, consistency loosens it. I choose consistency. The rhythm doesn't surprise me, it holds its shape. That reliability makes attention easier. Minutes pass cleanly, without emphasis, without stress, just motion. The work unfolds piece by piece, without commentary, without noise. This isn't silence and it isn't excitement. It's a steady middle space where focus stays. When I pause briefly, it feels like checking alignment, not stopping, just adjusting. Then I return without resistance, without restarting, simply continuing. The sound stays behind the work, never ahead of it, supporting without guiding. I don't need this moment to feel productive or inspired. It only needs to function, and it does. When stopping eventually comes, it won't feel abrupt, it will feel complete, like a natural place to pause. Until then I remain here, calm, focused, comfortably engaged, letting the rhythm and the task move side by side, without force, without distraction, just steady progress. Start with what is already open, not the whole picture, just the part that's visible, the rest can wait. It usually does, there's no need to warm up, no countdown, no signal. I begin where I am and let the process settle. The room doesn't change, the sound doesn't ask anything, everything stays neutral, which helps. My attention narrows naturally, not forced, not trained, just directed. One point holds, everything else becomes background. I don't sort my thoughts, I don't organize them. If something matters, it stays. If it doesn't, it leaves without effort. The rhythm remains constant, that consistency matters. It removes decisions, and decisions slow focus. I let repetition do the work, not variety, not contrast. Time stops feeling segmented, minutes don't announce themselves, they connect without edges. The task becomes lighter, not because it's easy, because nothing competes with it. I don't check progress, I don't check distance, movement is enough. Hands repeat familiar motions, the mind aligns behind them, without commentary, without resistance. Breathing stays even, not deep, not shallow, just aligned. I don't notice it, which means it's correct. Distractions appear, they always do, but they don't escalate. They pause, then dissolve. I don't engage, that's the rule. There is no reward system here, no small wins, no finish line, just continuation, and that's sufficient. The sound stays level, no peak, no release. It doesn't guide emotion, it supports function. I stay inside that support. Thoughts slow down, not because I quiet them, because they lose relevance. Only what's necessary remains. that doesn't ask for attention. Mistakes don't interrupt, they adjust themselves when I don't react too quickly. Correction happens quietly in the background. The outside world becomes distant, not blocked, not denied, just inactive. Messages wait, time waits, nothing expires. I don't rush to meet them. Focus sustains itself when it's not observed, so I don't observe it. I remain inside the task without labeling the state. Labels create distance, distance breaks flow. I stay close but relax. Minutes stack evenly, no tension, no urgency. The work continues line after line, step after step, without narrative, without evaluation. This is not motivation, this is alignment. I don't feel energized, I don't feel calm, I feel usable, and that's exactly what I need. The sound keeps its place, the rhythm doesn't change. That predictability is what holds everything together. I don't add intention, I don't remove effort. I let the system run, time passes, but quietly. When stopping eventually comes, it doesn't interrupt, it transitions. Because nothing was strained, for now I remain here. Clear, steady, undisturbed, letting the work continue at its own pace. Get comfortable, not settling, just adjusting until things feel usable. The space doesn't need silence, it needs balance. Enough sound to stay present, enough calm to stay clear. I begin where my hands already are. No planning ahead, no looking back, just the next motion. The task responds quietly, not demanding, not distant, simply available. That's enough to start. There's a steady movement underneath, not obvious, but consistent, like a current that doesn't change direction. I let it carry the pace. Thoughts appear at a manageable distance, close enough to notice, far enough not to interrupt. If one fits, it stays with me. If it doesn't, it slips away naturally. Time stops feeling divided, minutes blend together, not disappearing, just losing sharp edges. That makes focus easier. I keep my attention narrow, not strict, just intentional, one thing at a time. The sound stays supportive, never stepping forward, never fading, completely holding its position. Breathing happens without instruction, unnoticed, which tells me nothing is tense. The outside world keeps moving, messages arrive, sounds pass through. I don't follow, they can wait. Small adjustments happen, a line corrected, a step refined, then I continue. There's no pressure to finish quickly, speed isn't helpful here. Consistency is, the rhythm holds its shape. It doesn't surprise me, it doesn't change suddenly. That reliability keeps me grounded. Minutes pass smoothly, without emphasis, without stress, just progression. The work unfolds naturally, piece by piece, without commentary, without noise. This isn't deep silence, and it isn't excitement. It's a steady middle state where attention stays. When I pause briefly, it feels like checking my balance, not stopping, just aligning. Then I return without resistance, without restarting, simply continuing. The sound stays behind the work, never ahead of it, supporting without guiding. I don't need this moment to feel productive or inspired. It only needs to function, and it does. When stopping eventually arrives, it won't feel abrupt, it will feel complete, like a clean place to rest. Until then I remain here, calm, focused, comfortably engaged, letting the rhythm and the task move side by side, without force, without distraction, just steady flow.